All right. Ooh. All right, let's talk about this project. The 2-liter front wheel drive Jetta in the back, 3-link, which I don't know if it's a 3-link suspension or, because a 3-link's kind of like a solid axle front suspension that guys run on their Jeeps, but this one has a trailing arm with 2 parallel links on the back with a 2-wheel drive XJ front beam up front. Project. It's going good. I'm over the hump. I think I own just about everything I need. It's now my sanity and my time. I think I have enough stuff that I can mount a battery and start wiring the motor and see if this gem runs. Recently, I cut down the intake and shortened it out. I took about a foot of runner out of it and made it nice and short. Got my throttle body away from the radiator. And it left me a little bit more room to mount the fuel tank. Fuel tank is sitting quite high right now. Fuel tank headrests of the back passengers. But I figured the radiator right there, you know, what's a little bit of gasoline spilled on you versus, you know, hot coolant? Nobody's ever had their skin boiled off. But I've got the turbo mounted right here. The wastegate's kind of turned funny, so I got to build a custom mount for the wastegate, but I'm just going to run the factory wastegate on this KO3. I made my own custom axles and hopefully going to work. If they don't work, that's okay, because I'm building a spare that I just bring with it. So I found on the all-wheel drive Audi A4s and A6s that are a manual transmission. The transmission side is a Type 2 flange bus, also known as a 100mm CV flange, and the splines on the end of that axle match just the bug spline. I think it's 30 spline. It matches it. So, but the outside spline on the wheel side is completely different. It's a little bit smaller. So I was able to take a bug axle, cut and splice it together. I think it'll work because it's not like I had 2 chunks of hardened shaft right next to each other that I would, you know, beveled up. I don't know if you've ever seen Ratherby welding. He builds his own axles, and he bevels the 2 different axles to a point, and then he fills in the weld, and it seems to hold up for him. He does a lot of little go-karts and a little, like, you know, like the, whatever is it, those grind hard boys do, the Power Wheels toy engine stuff. But he has built a full-size buggy, you know, with chains and shafts and all sorts of other stuff. Shafts. And the reason I think it'll work is because one side is a big hollow tube. So I was able to build a bushing so it fit in there, so I have a large area to weld. And the hollow shaft in between it's not hardened. It's like I can put a tool to it on the lathe, high-speed steel, and it'll make a cut. Whereas the normal axles are so hard that you need carbide to make chips on. So I kind of welded in there. If it doesn't work, I'll have a spare, you know, and I'll eat that plate of crow because I'm too cheap to spend $350 on some long axles. I really am down to wiring, and then once wiring, I still got to figure out the shifting. I'm going to do a cable shifting just like on my Audi buggies. And so I'm just going to run rear brakes on the pedal. The front brakes, I think I'm going to do a hand brake. I don't like driving a buggy with 4-wheel brakes in the sand without a proportioning valve because it really kicks the sand up in your face. But I think it'd be kind of cool to have a hand brake. It'll make doing burnouts easier if you have a hand brake for the front. It's kind of a tight little package with the fuel tank, the radiator, the exhaust, and the turbo, but you know, it is what it is. I think I'm getting the weight a little balanced over. I'm going to put the battery on this side. It's not perfectly evenly balanced like a V-dub or most of your, you know, inline 4 in the back where it's pretty even in the center. There still is a large portion of the motor that's on this side and the turbo on this side, but once again, I am a human counterweight and I'll take up the roll and sit over there just fine. So as you can see, The fuel tank doesn't leave a lot of room, but if you look underneath there, that's where my mass airflow is. Focus you. And then the mass airflow goes right there to the intercooler. I've got mounted back here the radiator. Big old long tripod. I don't know why I'm using it. Down to the turbo, which is kind of pokes out the back a little bit, but so does the exhaust. Over to here. And focus again. Can't really see, but I cut down the intake. The intake used to sit right over the valve cover, and the throttle body was kind of right there where the intercooler piping was, but this shortened up the throttle body and made it, not the throttle body, this shortened up the runner, which where I'm running boost, it'll actually probably help it make peppy. Yes, it can affect low end torque. You do long runners for that specifically, but I'm kind of hoping this is a small enough turbo that that issue will be a non-issue. We'll see. I don't know. Hey, that was unwarranted. I did not ask to be touched like that. Filming and working on buggies is hard.